areas that you had suggested. One, we will have a presentation by at least each one of us on the issue of electoral justice and related matters. We will be led by Senator Sigei, and on the issue of outstanding constitutional matters, we will be led by Omboko Milemba, with the Secretary General. On the issue of fidelity to political parties, coalition, and the law on multi-party democracy, will be led by the Good Honorable Secretary General for the Ford Kenya. And on the issue of entrenching funds in the Constitution, will be led by the Good Honorable SG of Ford Kenya. And on the issue of implementation of the two-third gender rule, we will have a presentation from Senator Mutinda. I will lead you on the establishment and entrenchment of state office, and that's how we make...
SG, I propose you just go straight to it, so that you don't buy time making that.
Okay.
Just let those who are supposed to do whatever speak.
Okay, well-guided chair. So we will start by having a presentation by Honorable Sigei on that specific thematic area.
Thank you, SG. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and Honorable Chair as well, and members. The first point which we will make is with regards to the establishment of the IEBC, that is the Commission, and our view is with regards to the selection panel. And you all, of course, are aware about the establishment of IEBC under the Constitution, and what we are proposing as a coalition is that since we already have a law in place with regards to the selection panel to the IEBC, which law is in place as of now, we propose that we allow the Commission to proceed and conclude with the process of establishing the Commission in order for it to ensure that we fast track whatever is outstanding in terms of the delimitation of boundaries, which is coming up in, of course, the next few months or so because of the provision of the Constitution. And two, the reason as to why we are saying so is because this particular panel comprise a representative team, because we have got representation from the Public Service Commission, we've got representation from the Parliamentary Service Commission, which is, or rather was, a product of a decision by the court, where the court did indeed pronounce itself as to the need to have a wider representation of the members. We have representation of from the religious groups as well as also from the political parties. And therefore, the Kenya Kwanza Coalition's position and recommendation to this committee is that this particular selection panel should proceed from where it has reached in terms of setting up the commission for purposes of making sure that it does the mandate provided for in law. And this is also one of the reasons why we are saying it should be let to proceed, is because we have got 7 pending by-elections where members of those representative constituencies and wards have had no representation, which is largely against the law. Or the position of Kenya Kwanza is that this selection panel, since it is representative and the law is in place, should be allowed to proceed, and this committee should recommend that position immediately. I will come back in a short while to represent the second bit of it, but I'll ask Omboko Milemba to deal with the issue on the boundaries delimitation, which is also another limb of this position of Kenya Kwanza.
Thank you, Chair. On boundaries delimitation, the boundary delimitation exercise, the review process, which is due to be done latest by March 2024, which is the 12th year outer limit required by the Constitution, is likely to stall due to lack of properly, if it's not constituted. Honorable Chair, we stand for the fact that this delimitation be done by the IEBC, because as per Article 29 of the Constitution, this boundary limitation should be done after every between 8 to 12 years. And as we stand now, we are doing the last year, which is the 12th year. And therefore, we strongly propose that this should be done so that we avoid a constitutional crisis. I would wish to add that, being very brief, that we further propose that Parliament and the Executive should fast track the process by allocating the required budget to the Commission, so that after the question of how to constitute the Commission, which will be handled by my brother here, is answered, it begins its work immediately to avoid constitutional crisis. I am aware that several groups appeared before yourselves and were talking about creation of not only constituencies but also creation of counties. So we strongly propose that this should actually be executed. Honourable Chair, we propose that the framework to be employed by the Commission during the boundary review and delimitation should be as already provided for in the Constitution under Article 89. Thank you, Honourable Chair. Allow me to move directly to the next issue. And the next issue is to do with the outstanding constitutional matters. I would want to begin by sharing with the many Kenyans who have suffered in many ways courtesy of the cost of living, and really stand with them, having been bred from a village point of a background. Honourable Chair, we understand the cost of living as an economic concept that refers to the general price level for goods and services that the average consumer will purchase for their activities of daily living. And we appreciate that these prices indeed are high, but we also appreciate that you know very well, Honourable Chair, that as a result of the international happenings that are not limited to the global inflation, to the high cost of living worldwide, the Ukraine war, and even the COVID pandemic, and further coupled with the local challenges that are not limited but include the prolonged drought we had in the last year, which was very, very prolonged. We saw the death of so many livestock, and further the issue of budget deficits, which we have had in Parliament, and further the borrowing, which I also had been talked about here a few minutes ago, generally has led us to where we are. Honourable Chair, I want to submit that we as Kenya Kwanza, we look at this from a constitutional point of view, which is actually Article 43, and it clearly indicates that it is actually a right, that every person has a right to the highest sustainable health, includes the right to health care services, etc., etc. I want to submit, Honourable Chair, that as the Kenya Kwanza government on the food security, the interventions undertaken by the government to actually increase on input subsidies in the sector of agriculture by, for instance, lowering the cost of fertilizer and other inputs, and also making sure the quality of these inputs to our farmers are of high quality, both the seeds, the pesticides, and also reducing the cost of agriculture, which was originally 7,500 to now 2,500, should greatly go in putting to actually reduce the cost of living and actually reduce the cost of the essential food services. And I'm happy yesterday when I was watching the TV now, I see the farmers complaining about stores and not lack of the maize itself. And they're actually saying that we need to move in as government quickly to actually provide stores for these foodstuffs and actually avoid post-harvest wastage. On the issue of housing, Honourable Chair, I want to undertake that as Kenya Kwanza, we have boldly moved to deal with the issue of housing, and that's why we had the acrimonious finance bill, as you all know, which dealt with the housing situation. And we are targeting that we should be able to increase the housing situation in this country, and therefore reduce the mortgages to about 10,000, and also make sure that the number of mortgages rise from 30,000 to 100 to 1 million every year. And by doing this, we hope that the issue of housing is going to be taken care of. Let me also move to the issue of health, Honorable Chair, that Kenya Kwanza is a government in place has moved to make certain laws which will actually make sure that we are able to provide the universal health care. 2 weeks ago, you remember, some of you were with me in Parliament when we did pass the 2 bills. That was the Digital Health Care Bill, and we also did pass the Social Health Care Bill. And there are 2 more bills which are in the Senate, which are crossing over to the to Parliament, so that we may deal with this. And I'm happy that the Constitution pronounces itself on the issue of emergency health care. And I'm happy in one of the bills, that's the Social Health Care Bill, we did create an emergency fund for those who are actually will be affected by emergency diseases. And that will go a long way to help secure the health sector so that everybody is able to have universal health care. And furthermore, we as Kenya Kwanza are actually mainstreaming the what you used to call the CHVs, but now called the promoters, the health promoters on the ground, so that we can actually deal with the healthcare from the basis of the ground, rising up to the top. In the digital healthcare bill, you will understand that this will enable doctors to be shared across the country. And if we have a test that has been done in Nairobi Hospital, we shall not need a patient to go all the way in other places, and that will reduce the cost of healthcare. Honorable Chair, I want to further submit that on 20th October, Mashujaa Day, the government will launch a comprehensive healthcare model that will solve the existing stalemate in the sector. For the sake of time, let me not mention everything, because we shall be giving a written memorandum.
That's a good way forward.
Yeah. Honorable Chair, on the issue of audit of the 2022 presidential election, I will wish to pronounce ourselves on that matter, and this is the position of Kenya Kwanza, that we believe that that is watered down the bridge. We are a country that upholds the rule of law, and we are all aware that the judiciary had already pronounced itself on that matter. The highest level of the judiciary, that is the Supreme Court, had already pronounced itself on the matter of the 2022 presidential election. I would like to urge Kenyans that let us all be law-abiding citizens and allow the law to prevail. That is our position as Kenya Kwanza. So I will want to invite Honorable Mtinda to present the issue on two-thirds gender rule.
Very good.
Thank you, Honorable Chairs. And I want to actually start by saying that it's very regrettable to note that the Constitution, as we speak, clearly articulates for the framework of the two-thirds gender rule. But as Parliament sits now, more specific at National Assembly, we've not been able to achieve the two-thirds gender rule. As a coalition, Kenya Kwanza, led by our party leader, none other than Dr. William Ruto, we want to state that we are committed and as a party in terms of championing and promoting the realization of women inclusion and effective participation in every sphere of national endeavors. We have recently also, as a coalition, amended our structure in terms of ensuring that we include party leadership cadres that ensure we meet the two-thirds gender rule in our political different coalitions. Further to this, Honorable Chair, you note that currently in the National Assembly, we on the one-third, we have 97, it should be 97, but we currently have 47 women reps, hence we have less 50. But since we have 26 women elected on single constituencies, we still have a short of 24 women who are supposed to be in parliament. So as a coalition, we want to state that our proposal is for this committee to support in these numbers getting to the two-third agenda that we all focus on. I want to state that county assemblies have been able to achieve this through gender top-up. Senate, equally where I sit, we've been able to achieve it. But in National Assembly, we've not been able to achieve this. Finally, as a coalition, we're also not forgetting our youth and people with disability. We're ensuring that in our different political structure, we ensure that we are going to have different opportunities and different areas that they can be able to serve, so that we increase the number of women, we increase the number of our youth, and we also increase our number of our PWZ. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And the one presenting next, please note you have 5 more minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. We will submit to you our written proposal. I will simply summarize what we have on fidelity to political parties, coalitions, and the law on multi-party democracy. Our proposal is that we seek to strengthen individual parties as key pillars for strong coalitions in Kenya. Secondly, that multipartyism is a critical tool to the growth of democracy in Kenya. And thirdly, that the choice of belonging to any political party is enshrined in the Constitution, must be respected, and it must be strengthened. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you very much. Any other presentation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we have got something to do.
2 minutes, Senator Sigei.
Thank you. I'll try to push myself, but you'll allow me if I am unable to. Now, this is an issue with regards to what we referred to as cannibalization of the political parties or interference of political parties. The position that we are taking is that there is indeed law in place. There is the Political Parties Act that has established the management, the structure, and the role of political parties. It has indeed provided for situations where members are expected either to be within or without the provisions of their constitution as at the party level. The Constitution of Kenya, at the same time, we are all aware, mandates members under Article 38 the freedom to politics and democracy. However, this was an issue that we have had to respond to, and we are saying that in terms of what we can recommend as the position, since we have the law, what is it then that we can do to make sure that this law is supporting the management of these political parties? And we have proposed that education is going to be one of the key issues in terms of ensuring that proactive steps are taken for members to understand, for political parties also to understand how to manage their members, so that we avoid accusations of interference with the management of political parties. Secondly, enhance the strengthening of internal party dispute resolution mechanism and make sure that proper structures are implemented and party organs are also made to operationalize, so that if there is an issue, we can deal with it within the IDRM. Thirdly, political dialogue and democratic space is key. If we have this continuous, there will be no accusation of one party having interfered with another party's political structure. And lastly, legal reforms, where we are saying that policymakers should be able to consider reviewing and amending the existing laws where we feel there is a lacuna. And in this case, if there is a lacuna in terms of the Political Parties Act, where we are saying at what point do we deem a member to have maybe promoted the position of another political party, it should be clear so that members are allowed to exercise their democratic right and space, and none is accused of having cannibalized any other political party. That is our position as Kenya Kwanza, and we are saying this commission can push also along those proposals.
Thank you, Senator.
Lastly, Chair. Lastly. Lastly. There's a last one. Lastly, Chair, on the two issues about entrenching
we have
funds.
1 minute. Yes.
How many minutes? 1 minute. 2 more minutes, Chair. Lastly, on the issue of entrenching funds into the Constitution and establishment and entrenchment of state offices, Honorable Chairs, this is our position that we draw wisdom from the memorandum the President presented to Parliament. That is the position of Kenya Kwanza. We support the establishment and the entrenchment of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, National Government Affirmative Action Fund, and the Senate Oversight Fund. However, Chair, we would like to make a further submission on the same. Article 177 of the Constitution of Kenya establishes the position of the member of County Assembly. The County Government Act gives the members of the County Assembly various roles. In order for the County Assembly's Honorable Chair to effectively carry out the above functions as enshrined in the County Government Act, we propose, as Kenya Kwanza, the establishment of a fund to be known World Development Fund, which shall empower the legislators to perform their functions of representation more effectively and keep them in touch with the pulse of their respective wards. Honorable Chair, it is important to note that the role of an MCA are similar to those of a member of National Assembly, and therefore, if these privileges are to be given at the national level, they should be replicated to the county level. These funds will help the MCAs, Honorable Chair, to fulfill their promises and pledges they made during their elections. Honorable Chair, we further suggest that to achieve, this fund will achieve equalization across the country and can be a solution to the marginalized groups within the counties who are agitating for secession. Honorable members of the committee, who would agree with me that the member of county assembly position is an incubation stage for nurturing and mentoring future leaders who will scale up in political ladder of leadership. This fund will be very instrumental in ensuring this is achieved. We further submit that we have a ward equalization fund so that within the county setup, we again have an equalization fund to ensure that marginalized communities are catered for. We are further suggesting, as Kwanza, to have the county oversight fund, the same way a senator has been proposed to have an oversight fund to oversight the governors, to play the oversight role. We are proposing, let us build capacity for members of county assemblies. We've seen members of county assemblies being bought left, right, and center because they do not have a fund. That will make them autonomous from the governor. Lastly, on the issue of entrenchment of the two offices, the leader of opposition and the office of the prime cabinet secretary, we support, and especially as Kenya Kwanza, we want to affirm that we support the entrenchment of the leader of opposition. It is our considered view that Parliament should enact the legislation to establish the office of the leader of opposition. This is an important office in promoting inclusivity. We have repeatedly witnessed violence after every electoral cycle due to the perceived winner-takes-it-all scenario. Creation of this position would be a means to alleviate the perennial problems, strengthening oversight and deepening democracy. Honorable Chair, we are conscious of the Bill of Rights as enshrined in the Constitution. We propose a legislation to regulate the right to demonstration and picketing enshrined in Article 37. Lastly, the legislation should specifically address and provide mechanism to bar political leaders who lead violent demonstrations from vying from any further elective position. Further, the legislation should mandate the organizers of the demonstration to gazette the venue, time, and reason for picketing. The legislation should provide measures that will ensure the leaders and organizers of violent demonstrations, which may occasion destruction of property and loss of life, to be held liable. These will encourage sanity and order in our political class. That is our submission as Kenya Council.
Thank you, SG. I think you're done, and thank you very much. I only want to ask you one question.
Yeah.
In the case of the office of the official of the leader of opposition, should that person sit in the Senate or in the National Assembly?
For purposes,
or outside?
No, just note down. And I've got a follow-up question. Save for about 2 or so words that you uttered. I hope you could listen to me.
Okay.
SG can listen to Wandai.
Yes, I was getting worried because in the memorandum that you alluded to, that was sent to Parliament, and in your written memorandum here.
Not have a written memorandum.
What is this? Sorry.
No, that's yours.
No, let's be orderly.
We haven't. That's not
You actually expressed this.
Okay, so we ignore this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair. You know, our staff have circulated a memo. It bears your name.
I started by saying we do not have a written memorandum. We will do oral submissions.
But what is this?
Yeah, and this was occasioned by the contents of your letter. You told us to come and make oral presentation.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So we ignore this.
Ignore. Please.
Okay.
We take this as a strange document
Very strange. Very
that
strange.
found its way here strangely.
Very strange.
Thank you. Now, I was actually going to ask you, why are you not as emphatic on the position on the proposed position of Prime Cabinet Secretary as you are on the position of leader of official position? It is curious that even this document, which I have now refused to, I will not now refer to, you seem not to be emphasizing the creation of that office, contrary to perceptions that have been in the public domain. Could it be as a result of the fears? No, relax. Could it be as a result of the fears that from some quarters, that this office, if created or if entrenched in the Constitution, is going to water down the power and influence of the office of the Deputy President? And could this perhaps be the cause of the incessant anti-dialogue outbursts out there? Finally, what is your take on the issue of the taxes which were brought about by the Finance Act? And very finally, Umoko Milemba, if I heard you right, I think this is the SG of Fort Kenya, that you support, that you support.
Chair, I'm the SG of.
Okay, fine. I was referring to my friend, the SG of Fort Kenya, Yechikati.
Yes.
That you support the strengthening of political parties.
Yes.
Okay? I suppose within and without the coalitions. What is your take on the clamor for collapsing of political parties to form bigger entities? Yeah.
Very good question.
Honorable Chair, on the issue of the leader of opposition, we propose that he sits in government in National Assembly so that he can be able to oversight the government ably. Second, on the issue of being emphatic on the entrenchment of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, I think first it was because of time. Second is a matter of semantics. We started by saying that we draw our wisdom from the contents encapsulated in the memorandum from the President to the National Assembly. So whatever the contents are encapsulated in that memorandum, we share the same wisdom.
Chair.
That memorandum doesn't have the proposal to entrench the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Yeah. Yeah. Proceed.
Which memorandum, Honorable Chair?
The one that was sent to the President, to the National Assembly.
Or whichever way, we as Secretary General has said, we strongly support the entrenchment of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary into the Constitution. And we had an array of notes on this. But of course, due to time, we may have not done so much, but we stand for it. And this will help in to create liaison and supervision, which is a pivotal role within the Cabinet Secretary and the Cabinet. So we strongly stand for it and we support it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our position on the parties is that we propose the strengthening of individual parties as key pillars to strong coalitions. Anything outside that proposal is a clamor which I don't understand. So we stand for that, and nobody is outside that. Thank you so much.
It might help SG to make a comment on that, the political party position of UDA in regards to that issue.
Can you take it together with my question?
Yes, yes.
So that he...
Yes. Yes, Senator Aaron.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to the presentation from Kenya Kwanza. In the presentations and submissions that have been made to us on the particular topic of audit of the 2022 presidential election, I heard you say that the position of Kenya Kwanza is that this matter is closed and done with, in the sense that it was concluded at the Supreme Court. However, there are people who've come before us, and in their presentation, they have said that is a political view in response to a political question raised by Azimio. Because our understanding, which I want to believe is the same matter that you're responding to, is that they are contesting the election result. However, many people, including the church, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to NCCK present, and so many people that have come before us, have told us, have a broader view of this issue. Look at it as an audit of our electoral process, which results are just part and parcel of. That there is a bigger perspective through which you can have a view to making our electoral processes better. What are the issues that have arisen, matters of contestation over every electoral cycle, and how that can better prepare us for the next electoral cycle. If that was made to be your understanding of what an audit will be, will you still maintain the same view that that matter is concluded, or you would agree with those that are requesting this committee to have a broader view of this matter? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chair, before
you go, we still have comments. Chair, I think I want to go next. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Kenya Kwanza, for your presentations. My simple question is, what is your take on these errand elected officers or members of either county assembly or even the National Assembly who are errand, and they don't even conform with the party, maybe constitution or ideologies? What is your take on them? And secondly, Madam Senator, it's on the two-third gender rule. You gave us almost a blanket statement about the government or the parliament having not conformed to implementing. But I wanted you to be a bit specific. Do you have any specific measures and ways which we can use to get to this two-third gender rule? Like other parties have been coming here, the public service was here with their team. They gave us suggestions. Githu was here. He also mentioned even about scrubbing the women rep seat and maybe creating something else. Do you have anything specific that you can recommend to this committee? Thank you.
Mine, Chair, is just a comment.
Yes.
They might choose to answer it in a different way, but because also this committee is conscious that part of us are Kenya Kwanza and the other parties Azimio, I think the fact that we've participated in our full element, Opio and I, is testimony that what you call outbursts are just opinions, and that we continue to support this process fully, including its outcomes.
Thank you. Please respond, and we'll give you 3 minutes to just respond quickly to those issues.
Chair, we will try to respond in 3 minutes, questions that were asked in 9 minutes. Okay. we will abide, Chair. Chair, I will start on the issue of whether the issue of whether we agree that we should audit the process of the elections. Our position is that we can open up on the issue of auditing the process, and that is a mandate that is given to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And therefore, I think that goes without any opposition that as Kenya Kwanza, we agree. And since we are a democratic country, we can audit the process. We look into areas which we can improve as a country, because elections are supposed to be transparent and in a manner that people can be participating in the formulation of the rules of the election. Second, on the issue that you raised about strengthening of political parties, I want to strongly agree with the Secretary General of the Ford Kenya that let us strengthen political parties, because we fought so much in this country. We shed blood to achieve the multi-party democracy. And therefore, our position is that let us strengthen political parties. But the big question is, how do you strengthen your political party? You strengthen by recruiting members. So if in an instance you can recruit members from a particular political party to a point whereby that political party is no longer viable, you can decide to take up the entire membership of a political party and bring to your... So strengthening, you must strengthen your political party by recruiting members. And that is our position, that let us strengthen, let us compete, and that is multi-democracy that we fought for. On the issue of errant MPs going against their party positions, I think we already have a legislative framework on that. The Political Parties Act is very clear. It's just a matter of enactment. So, Honorable Wambilianga, enforcement.
It's already enacted.
Enforcement. So it's just a matter of enforcement. So that has already been provided for in the Political Parties Act and other related legislation.
Conclude, SG.
1 minute before he concludes, Chair.
Yes.
On the issue of political parties, we as a coalition are very much aware about where we came from in terms of the one-party state. And like we said correctly, we want to strengthen the political parties. And let me further indicate that we also, this is what I wanted to bring out, that also coalitions, we also need to strengthen development of coalitions that can actually purpose to drive a certain area. And that's the experience even we had in America. What you now call the strong parties in America is a whole history of ideologies of small conglomerations that came together to form what they are today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Just
Yes,
want to know from you, this is a national dialogue initiative.
Yes.
And you are sitting on different divides. Why can't you mix? Thank you.
Food for thought. That's food for thought.
Thank you, Chair. I think we will be ungrateful if we left this sitting without congratulating the committee. You've made Kenya proud, because in the history of Kenya, this is the first time you are seeing different divides, political divides, sitting together, having a dialogue. And I think this is the Kenya we want to see. The other Kenya where we came from, we don't want to go back into those trenches. We want to see a Kenya which is united. And I suggest, Honorable Chair, that in the forthcoming Mashujaa Day, you guys should be celebrated. We should give you accolades for bringing Kenya together. Now we have a peaceful country, and we want to encourage that we continue that. Thank you.
We appreciate. Thank you. Thank you, Kenya Kwanza. We appreciate you and your presentations. Asanteni. The next...
Federation of Kenya.
Federation, eh?
Federation of Kenya Employers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Federation, and then next after Federation of Kenya Employers is the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights.
Can they all be in the room? Federation of Kenya Employers.
Federation and Kenya Human Rights be here.
I can see Governor Waititu. Are you Governor Waititu? Are you part of KFKE? Which group are you with? Honorable Waititu? Or you as personally? Can we hear you?
Let's first hear FKE,
okay,
and then Governor Waititu, and then yes. FKE, the floor is yours. We will not introduce ourselves. I think everyone now knows us. We think